Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well. I apologize for my terrible lighting. Just nothing can be done about that today. I'm filming in the night and yeah. But today I have a fun video that I kind of want to talk about that I have gone to Instagram to get all the questions about. And today we're going to be doing a little yachting Q&A. So here we go. Okay, so basically I'm just going to scroll through the questions and find ones that I can answer and we'll answer them. So question number 1 is, what qualifications do you need to skipper a yacht by yourself for a holiday? So this depends. Different countries have different rules, and different companies have different rules. Theoretically, to like anybody can just, at least in the US, and it actually depends on the state in the US, but if you're like in the US, you can just go buy a boat and you can start driving around. You don't need a license or anything. You have to have, in some states though, you do have to have a boating license if the boat is over a certain weight. Usually anywhere, it just depends on the weight and the length of the boat if you need to have a license. But to get around this, a lot of times you just go and get your day skipper license. It's like a 1-day class and you can take that and then you can charter the boat yourself. However, if you don't know what you're doing, I do recommend that you get a skipper. It does raise the price up a little bit, but it's worth it. Also, like, to not have to do all the work is nice. Okay, question number 2. Somebody just said everything. Well, I can't tell you everything about yachting because, yeah, but that's why I'm doing this Q&A. Anyways, somebody said, is it difficult to get jobs once you go off a boat? So there's 2 ways I can take this. I'm taking it as like, once you leave a boat, is it hard to get a job on another boat? And I would say, no, I don't think. I think a lot of people kind of have their next job lined up before they leave their current boat. But like kind of once you get your first job in yachting, it's pretty easy to get other jobs. You kind of just like hear about work through the grapevine and you get to know people and then you just kind of get hired on that way. It's a very like intimate community in that sense. Going back to the real world, yes, I do think it is hard for people, for yachties, to adjust going back to the real world. Like, our skills are very specific. I mean, stewardesses, I think, probably have the easiest time going back to the real world, because we, you know, we do service and housekeeping. There's a lot of aspects to stewardessing. And like engineers maybe, but then engineer, again, it's very specific. Like car engineering is very different than yachting engineering. Yeah, and like captains, their skills don't really transfer. So a lot of people go into like management stuff, because obviously, like if you know how to run a ship, you can manage people. Well, not obviously, but hopefully. So yes and no. Okay, this is my favorite question. Someone asked, are the toilets soundproof? And no, they're not. Like, it depends on your boat how well insulated it is. I've worked on semi-insulated and then no insulated and also pretty decently insulated. But like I've been on boats where there's my cabin and then there's a bathroom and then there's another cabin and not toilet sounds, but I've literally heard people snoring through the walls. So that's kind of crazy. Okay, so somebody's asked, what's the worst thing about staying in cabins so small? And honestly, I'll say like top bunk is just the worst. Honestly, it's not like the size of the cabin. Like, first of all, not having enough room for all of my stuff because you have to like live small. And then like if you're in a bunk bed situation, thankfully I'm not right now, but if you are, like if you have the top bunk, it sucks because you just have to be like so careful not to wake up whoever's underneath you. Especially if you have like, you know, like if you're in different departments and stuff, it's really hard to not wake up somebody else because you're very rarely going to be on the same schedule. And if you are, then there's bathroom issues. So it's not so much the cabin being small, because I think that's probably the easier part. It's more so like having to share with people. Okay, so Catherine has asked, what is it like working as a soul stew versus working as a team? Um, I like either need to be in charge or be by myself. So for me, it's great. I think for a lot of people, they would hate it because a lot of people like you miss that community. And I, halfway through the season, I was like, oh, I wish there was another girl on board that I could like share, my struggles with, in terms of like work stuff because there was another girl on board, but like wouldn't have translated like because you're not on the same team. Um, so that is a challenge. But I personally like really I enjoy being a soul stew on charter. During off charter, not so much. I just kind of hate being off charter in general. But like on season, I think it's great. Okay, so we're just gonna do two more. And this one is from Dave, Tie-Dye Dave. Hey there. Tie-Dye Dave asks, is it customary for a captain to have interaction with the guests or to be invited to dine multiple times? Again, yes and no. It really just depends on your group. I think, like with my owners, they take the entire crew out to dinner, at the end of the trip. So yes, it's pretty normal, I think. And then I think like it is normal to have dinner with the captain, especially if it's a big crew, to just have the captain instead of taking the whole crew out. We're a very small crew, so that's why they take everybody. And it's private, so like they know us. Whereas like if it's charter, I do think it's very normal to take the captain and maybe even the chief stew and the chef out for a night. Could be wrong. It just depends on the boat and it depends on the guests if they want to do that. A lot of like charter guests really like fraternizing with the captain. They think it's something special. Whether it is or not leaves room to be determined. But no, I think it's nice. And like sometimes they'll have like a cocktail with the captain or something too. If it's like a birthday or something, I don't know. It just kind of depends. But yes, I would say it's normal. Really just like all of this is so like boat dependent. With the industry. Okay, y'all. One final question. The kicker. Actually, there's two more. Fine, I'll do one bonus one at the end. Okay. But this one is it as hard as it looks? It looks like fun, but just a lot going on. Yes, I love my job. But like I miss like sailing, like actually sailing. I would much rather have my own boat than be working on a boat. Does that make sense? Do you pick up what I'm putting down? I'm very passionate about my job. I'm good at my job, so I do find joy in it. However, if it were up to me, I would definitely be on my own boat. So yes, it is fun. I think it's probably a lot more fun for the guests than it is for the crew. But you have to remember, like, we're literally working like 18-hour days. Like I would wake up on charter and would start my day at 5 and would not go to bed sometimes until 1 a.m. So just remember, like, yes, it's fun, but it is a lot of work. Okay, and the final question, are the tips usually as big as they seem? Yes, again, depends on your boat, depends on your charters. I think that sailboats tend to not have as good of tips as motorboats, and that's just because they are cheaper to rent, to charter for the week. And if you're on private, you probably don't get tips. So there's that. But if you're on private, you have a lot of other perks typically. So you kind of have to just like weigh your options. It's like any job. Like if you want it, like there's different reasons for being on a charter boat and being on a private boat. A lot of times charter boats have a lot higher turnaround rate and private boats do not. So just depends on what you want to do. If you want to get to know the family, or if you want to just have a bunch of people and then just do a season and make a lot of money. If you want benefits, if you want to be full-time, if you want to be part-time, if you want to be rotation, there's a whole lot that goes into it. But yes, the tips are good. Okay, guys, thank you so much for listening to my rant. I'm sorry that you had to listen to me do it like this, but I hope you enjoyed this, and I look forward to you guys watching my video for next week. See you then.